Alrighty, we've got a 2017 Volkswagen Jetta. It is hot as Hades and no AC. Checked the pressure in the lines. We've got pressure, so it's just easier for me to check that quickly. And the second check is to make sure that the clutch coil is getting power, and I did that just simply by unplugging the connector. And once you have the connector unplugged, keep your fingers away from all that moving stuff, and then check for power. So I was getting power to this coil, just basically electromagnet. Remember in high school or before high school, you took some wire and wrapped it around a nail, iron core, hooked to a battery, made a magnet. So basically that's what happens here. And then what happens is there's an outer plate that gets drawn in to connect to this coil, and that plate is connected to the shaft that then turns the compressor. Quite simple, but look at how nasty this is. This is typical in climate here with salt on the roads and whatnot, is this surface will get rusty and then get machined down to the point that it doesn't work anymore, doesn't make the connection, even though it has power to the coil. What you'll start to hear sometimes is a little noise out here because that clutch is trying to engage and it can't. And where is it? Over here. Yeah, this little clutch will try to engage, but it can't. Luckily, just pull this off, and look at that surface. That's nasty. That's just rust, and the rust gets machined off, and there's a fine gap, clearance between this plate and that coil, and you can see the spring right here. So this gets drawn in, right? And if the space gets too big, then this can't pull in. All right, so that's typical around here. And also, it's typical when we pull these clutches off, there'll be a shim. Oh, what did I do with that? There it is. Don't lose that. Do not lose that. There'd be a little shim. See that? Sometimes two in between here and the shaft and the compressor. So I'm going to machine this off, just some sandpaper, carefully remove that, and also on the surface of the compressor, get them shined up. I'll show you that, and then I will leave this out, that little shim out, I'll leave it out, and I'll put the clutch on and check the clearance. You have to have some clearance, obviously, or this is going to this will be dragging all the time. All right, yeah, so just a spring's right there. That's a spring that keeps this plate away from that clutch coil. And then when it's energized with electricity, 12 volts, then this pulls in and rotates with the pulley turning the compressor. So I might get away lucky today and get the AC back on because it is hot. Woo! All right, so right away, when I'm just filing this to check this out, you can see that this outer surface is starting to clean up, and the inner ring, not even touching it really. So this would have been working at less than 50% contact probably before it failed. And then when I was getting my frappe at McDonald's is where I heard this little like a scraping sound, maybe a little squealing sound under the hood, and that's when this thing starts slipping, and then it just totally fails. So I was hoping that this was going to be the issue, quite typical on a lot of vehicles. So I'm going to continue to clean this up, buff this down, and I'll show you that and the other side nice and shiny. Alrighty, I'm pretty happy with that. It's cleaned up pretty good. I mean, fine pitting there. On this surface I'm happy with. I just sanded it down, and it's pretty smooth, even though it looks like you can see some discoloration from where it's sliding, but it's pretty flat. You know, it's you know, if you wanted to, you could buy a new clutch for this. There's a snap ring right in here. You take the belt off and you'd pull off that clutch. It also comes with the new front clutch plate. And Bob's your uncle, but you know what? I don't really feel like taking it to a garage or spending $1,000 to have that replaced. I've done a number of these, cleaned them up like this, and they last a long time. So to get this off, there was only one nut on the end here, and I just held on to this with a set of big channel locks. There's other ways of holding, jam something across on here, it would hold it. So I'm going to put this back on. I mentioned the shim. I'm going to leave the shim off, I think. I'm going to try it first and put a feeler gauge in here. If you don't have a feeler gauge, just make sure it's not scraping. And something else I've done before is sometimes there's two shims in there. I might take one out, or if the shim is thick, I might just remove a little bit of material off it, file or sand a little bit of material off. So keep your fingers crossed. I'm going to put this on and we'll start it up and see if we've got some AC. There we go. I have it back on, just that one nut that goes over the stud on the end of the compressor. And I've got clearance. Check my feeler gauge. Yeah, it's I think happy on there. So let's start it up. Keep our fingers crossed. And let's see if this works. So there's the clutch and the belt and everything back on. I'm just going to shine my laser right on the pulley so that you can see what you're looking at. You can see it's not moving right now. Let's start it up. 23 degrees in the garage. Have a listen to that. See the clutch turns in, kicks in. You hear that? She's dropping pretty quick. Clutch spinning down there now. Happily. There you go, nice and cool air. This is ice cold. See the frost on it already. Huh? There you go, very happy. And for you folks that like to work off Celsius instead of Fahrenheit, you can see we are Fahrenheit 26. Let's try Celsius. Oh, nice and cool. Oh yeah. So there you go. If you've got a vehicle that has that clutch not working, you've got power going to it. It's either the electromagnetic clutch inside, the magnet not working. It's got an open in the circuit, or you've got too much clearance right there between the clutch pad.